All right, buckle up, everyone. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to smooth things out. Literally, we're diving deep into suspension seat posts.
Sound comfy.
Yeah, exactly. We found this cool article from mtb-mania.ie, an Italian cycling site. They really break down all the tech behind these things.
Ah, the Italians. Always stylish.
For sure, and that kind of applies to these seat posts,
Rough.
too. I mean, imagine you're flying over rough terrain, but it feels like you're floating on clouds.
Sign me up. Who wouldn't want that?
Right. And it's not just for the hardcore mountain bikers out there. You know, anyone can benefit, even on gravel or just bumpy city streets.
So it's like a universal upgrade for more comfort.
That's the idea. But to help us really dig into the nitty-gritty, we've got our expert here.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. So tell me, what's the deal with these suspension seat posts? What problem are they solving? I mean, why do we even need them?
Okay, so think about the last time you rode over a rough patch, right? You feel all those vibrations, jolts going right up your spine. Ouch!
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Well, a suspension seat post is designed to absorb all that impact. Basically, it gives you a smoother, more comfortable ride.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask, isn't that what suspension forks are for? I mean, don't they already handle the bumps?
True, they do a great job up front. But think about it. What about your backside?
Oh, right.
Exactly. That's where the suspension seat post steps in. It's like having a mini shock absorber right under your seat. Targets those vibrations going right through the saddle.
So it's all about isolating those specific rear end impacts.
That's the ticket.
Now, how does this differ from a dropper post? Those are pretty hot right now, too.
Ah, great question. Dropper posts are all about adjusting your saddle height on the fly, for better control on those steep descents or technical bits, like having an instant lowrider for your bike.
Okay, cool.
But suspension seat posts, they're all about comfort. Your saddle height stays fixed, but it moves up and down with the bumps.
So comfort over agility with the suspension seat post.
You got it.
Now, this article, it's singing praises about the benefits. Increased comfort, less fatigue, even better traction. I can see how that all adds up to a way more enjoyable ride.
Definitely.
But let's be real, there's got to be some downsides, right? I mean, it can't all be sunshine and rainbows.
You're right. There are always trade-offs. It's the classic battle of plushness versus performance.
Oh, I like that.
So one of the big drawbacks, added weight. If you're all about those super light bikes, shaving off every gram, a suspension seat post might not be your best friend.
Right, that makes sense.
And then there's the dreaded uphill bob.
Uphill bob, what's that?
Imagine running uphill, but on a trampoline.
Ooh, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, it's kind of like that when the seat post is compressing and extending too much while you're pedaling uphill. Can feel inefficient, sap your power.
Ouch, yeah, I can see how that wouldn't be ideal. Anything else to consider?
Well, maintenance. More moving parts, more potential for things to wear out. You'll need to check for wear, keep things lubed up, maybe replace parts down the line.
Right, like any moving part on a bike.
Exactly. And of course, there's the cost factor. They tend to be a bit pricier than standard seat posts.
Okay, so there are trade-offs. But for someone like me, I really value a smooth ride, especially on those longer rides. I'm thinking the pros might outweigh the cons.
Could be. It all depends on your priorities.
For sure. Now, this article mentions two main types, parallelogram and external spring. Honestly, that parallelogram design, it sounds super cool, like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It does have that futuristic vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah. So what's the difference between the two?
So the parallelogram uses this linkage system. It kind of resembles a parallelogram, hence the name. Allows for more travel, meaning your seat can move up and down further. Perfect for bigger hits, rougher terrain, mountain biking, gravel grinding, that sort of thing.
So if I'm picturing myself as a hardcore mountain biker, parallelogram's the way to go.
It's a strong contender for sure.
Yeah.
And remember, more travel usually means more weight.
Gotcha. So what about the external spring then?
Those, as you can guess, have a visible spring doing the shock absorption. They might not have as much travel, but they're often lighter, simpler design.
Okay, starting to get the picture. More travel, shock absorption for the rough stuff with the parallelogram, and a simpler, lighter option with the external spring.
Exactly.
I'm guessing the choice really depends on the riding you do and how much comfort you're after.
You nailed it. And within those two types, there's a whole world of brands and models, each with their own features and price points.
This is where I get excited. Shopping for new bike tech is like being a kid in a candy store. What kind of price range are we talking about here? Will I need to take out a second mortgage to get a decent suspension seat post?
Don't worry, you won't need to break the bank. The article mentions prices starting from around €50 for basic models.
Okay, that's not too bad.
And then they go up to over €300 for the high-end ones.
So there's something out there for every budget that's good to know. Are there any specific models that, really stand out to you? Ones that kind of showcase the different types and price points?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at a few examples. For the parallelogram style, we've got the Cane Creek Thudbuster LT. This one's a classic.
Thudbuster, I've heard that name before.
Yeah, known for its plush ride, especially on demanding terrain.
All right, that one's going on my wish list. What about the external spring type?
The Connect Body Float is a popular choice, known for its versatility, good performance, and a more reasonable price tag.
So we've got the Thudbuster for those hardcore trails and the body float for a more balanced approach.
Got it. Now, I know a lot of folks out there, especially those riding hardtails, they might be wondering, can a suspension seat post replace rear suspension altogether? What's the verdict?
Well, it can make a huge difference in comfort, but it can't fully replace a dedicated rear suspension system.
So it's more like a supporting actor rather than the lead role.
You got it. It can handle moderate terrain and make a big difference on a hardtail, but it's not going to give you the same plushness and control as a full suspension bike with a dedicated rear shock. Good to know. Now, I'm sure some people are wondering about compatibility. Can you just slap a suspension seat post on any bike?
Not quite. You got to make sure the seat post diameter matches your bike frame's seat tube. It's like finding the right size shoe. You wouldn't want to squeeze into a pair that's too small.
Or swim around in ones that are too big.
Exactly. Same goes for your seat post. But don't worry, we'll make sure to include a compatibility guide in the show notes.
Always thinking of our listeners. Now, before we jump into part 2, where we'll really break down these designs, do they require any special care, like maintenance-wise?
Like anything on your bike that gets a workout, they need some attention, Check for wear and tear, lube the moving parts, maybe even replace parts like seals or springs over time. Think of it like giving your suspension seat post a little spa day. Keep it happy.
All right, so a little TLC goes a long way. Sounds good. So we've covered the basics. Pros, cons, the two main types, even compatibility and maintenance.
Yeah, we've laid the groundwork.
In part 2, we'll dive deeper into those parallelogram and external spring designs. We'll explore some more models and try to figure out which type might be right for you. So stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to the deep dive. I'm still thinking about those suspension seat posts. They're like the unsung heroes of a smooth ride,
Yeah, they don't always get the attention they deserve.
Right. Last time, we touched on those two main types, parallelogram and external spring. I'm ready to, really geek out on the details now.
Let's do it.
What makes each one tick?
Yeah.
How do you know which one is right for you?
Okay, well, let's start with those parallelogram designs. Remember that sci-fi look?
Yeah, totally.
Their secret weapon is travel. They let the seat move up and down further than the external spring models.
How much further are we talking?
Typically between 50 and 90 millimeters.
Oh, that's a lot.
It is. And that means more shock absorption, a super plush ride, especially when the terrain gets really gnarly.
So if I'm, picturing myself as this hardcore mountain biker, parallelogram is the way to go.
It's definitely a top contender for that kind of riding. But, keep in mind, all that extra travel, it comes with a weight penalty. Parallelogram seat posts tend to be a bit heavier.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's like choosing between a comfy couch and, a nimble sports car.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that plushness, and sometimes you need that lightweight agility.
Perfect analogy.
So where do external spring seat posts fit in then?
Those are like the reliable all-rounders, They strike a good balance between comfort, simplicity, and weight.
Okay, got it.
They might not have as much travel as the parallelogram types, usually around 35 millimeters.
Still, that's quite a bit of movement.
Yeah. It's enough to make a noticeable difference, especially on moderate terrain. And one of their big selling points is their simplicity.
I like the sound of that.
Fewer moving parts means less can go wrong. Maintenance is generally easier, and they tend to be lighter than the parallelogram ones.
So they're like the Goldilocks of suspension seat posts.
Huh. You got it. Not too much travel, not too little, just right.
Just right for a wide range of riding.
Exactly.
Now the article mentions some ultra lightweight options too, with minimal suspension. Where do those fit in?
Oh, those are for the riders who want that little bit of extra comfort without sacrificing performance.
I can see that.
They're designed to smooth out road buzz and vibrations, especially on those long rides. Minimal travel, maybe 10 or 20 millimeters, but it can still make a difference.
So like a secret weapon for a subtle suspension boost.
You could say that.
Okay, cool. Now, with all these options, I'm thinking compatibility is key, right?
Yeah.
Can you just like put any suspension seat post on any bike?
Well, not exactly. You need to think about your bike frame's seat tube diameter.
Oh, yeah, right?
Suspension seat posts, they come in different diameters, just like shoes. You wouldn't want to squeeze into a pair that's too small.
Right, or swim around in ones that are too big.
Exactly. Same goes for your seat posts. But don't worry, we've got a guide in the show notes to help you find the perfect fit.
Always thinking of our listeners. So, beyond the type and compatibility, what else should riders consider when choosing a suspension seat post?
Well, travel is a big one. How much up and down movement do you really need? You know, if you're tackling rough trails with big hits, you'll want more travel. For smoother terrain, maybe less is enough.
Right, that makes sense.
Adjustability is another thing to consider. Some seat posts, they let you fine-tune the spring rate or damping. Dial in the perfect feel for your weight and riding style.
So you can really personalize it.
And of course, weight is always a consideration. If you're a gram counter, pay attention to the weight of the seat post and how it affects your bike overall.
That's a balancing act between all these factors.
It is. Travel, adjustability, weight, cost. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right. That's why it's good to have all this info to help us decide.
Exactly.
Now, we've mentioned a few models. Are there any, specific ones you'd recommend our listeners check out?
Well, it really depends on their needs in riding style, but let me throw out a couple names that are, consistently well-regarded. For the parallelogram design, the Cane Creek Thudbuster is still a popular choice, known for its plush ride and reliability.
Yeah, the Thudbuster. It's legendary.
It is. And for the external spring types, the Connect Body Float is a fantastic option. Offers a great balance of comfort, simplicity, and weight. Works well for a wide range of riding.
So Thudbuster for ultimate plushness, Body Float for a more versatile approach.
Got it. Now, I'm curious, what do you think about the future of suspension seat posts? Do you think they're going to become, more common or stay a niche product?
I think they're definitely poised to become more mainstream. As more riders discover the benefits of increased comfort and control, we'll see a surge in popularity. And as technology keeps evolving, we can expect lighter, more efficient, and more affordable models hitting the market.
That's exciting. Maybe one day suspension seat posts will be as common as suspension forks. Who knows?
Could be. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Different types, pros, cons, even peeked into the future a little. But the big question is a suspension seat post right for you? We'll tackle that in part 3, where we'll walk you through a step-by-step process to help you decide. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on this journey exploring all the nooks and crannies of suspension seat posts.
From those high-tech parallelogram designs to the more minimalist, lightweight options. Yeah, we've covered a lot.
We have. But now it's time for the big question. Is the suspension seat post right for you?
That's the million-dollar question. And the answer is, like always.
It depends. It depends.
Of course. But no worries, we're not going to leave you hanging. We've got a roadmap to help you navigate this whole decision.
We'll take into account your riding style, your budget, and all those cycling dreams you're chasing.
Exactly. So step 1, let's get real about your riding style. What kind of terrain do you usually tackle? Think about your typical ride. Are you, bombing down technical single track with roots and rocks everywhere? Or maybe you're more of a gravel grinder, exploring those back roads, hitting those bumps and washboards?
Yeah, knowing your playground is, crucial. It's like choosing the right tool for the job.
Right. You wouldn't use a hammer to screw in a light bulb.
Exactly. So let's say I'm that mountain biker living for those challenging trails. What kind of suspension seat post should I be looking at?
Well, if you're hitting those gnarly trails regularly, a parallelogram-style seat post with its generous travel and plush feel would be a great match. Remember the Cane Creek Thudbuster LT?
Oh yeah, the Thudbuster.
That would be a solid contender.
It's going on the short list. But what if I'm a more casual rider? Enjoy a mix of paved and unpaved, not afraid of some bumps, but not exactly hucking myself off cliffs either.
In that case, an external spring seat post might be the sweet spot, something like the Connect Body Float.
Yeah, we talked about that one.
It offers that balance, comfort, simplicity, weight. It can handle a variety of terrain without feeling like overkill.
Okay, so we've got our playground, our riding style figured out. What's next?
Step 2, the money talk. How much are you willing to spend on this comfort upgrade?
Yeah, budgets are important.
Seat posts can range from Around €50 for the basic models to over 300 for those with all the fancy features.
You don't want to be eating ramen noodles just to afford a fancy seat post.
Right. Sometimes a simpler, more affordable option is just as effective.
Totally. Shop around, read reviews, compare prices, get the best bang for your buck. So terrain, riding style, budget, check. What's the final piece of the puzzle?
Step 3. Think about your goals. What are you hoping to achieve with this upgrade?
Goals, yeah.
Are you looking for a more comfortable ride on those long hauls? Maybe you want to push your limits on those technical trails without feeling beat up?
Reduce fatigue, stress on the body. It's like personalizing your ride.
Exactly. It's about connecting those features and benefits to what you want out of cycling, like choosing a training plan that aligns with your fitness goals.
Right. So if I want to conquer epic rides, not feel every bump, a plush parallelogram seat post might be worth the investment.
Could be. But if you're after that balance of comfort and efficiency for everyday riding, maybe a lightweight external spring model is a better fit.
It's all about finding that sweet spot where tech enhances your experience and helps you reach your cycling goals.
Exactly.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, any final words of wisdom for those considering a suspension seat post?
If you're curious, just try one out. You might be amazed by the difference it makes. Talk to your local bike shop, maybe even test ride a few models.
Feel it for yourself. That's the best way.
Absolutely.
Well, we've explored a lot. The tech, the personal considerations. Hope you feel ready to make a choice that'll make those cycling adventures even better.
I think so.
And don't forget to check out that article on mtb-mania.ie, the one we've been talking about. We'll have the link in the show notes.
Happy trails, everyone.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep pedaling, and keep chasing those cycling dreams.